Welcome to this session, where we will be looking at HelmutIO, the module which will take care of all your import, export and render jobs. A big advantage of using Helmut 4 is the ability to set up Adobe Media Encoder render nodes and move the rendering of files and sequences away from your local machine. This means, you can continue to work on your local machine, without any decrease in performance, and have other machines do the hard work for you. Of course, you can set priorities for these render jobs and make sure that urgent things will be handled ahead of render jobs which are not time critical. The basic layout in I/O is comparable with that of Helmut FX. Some menu items are global and will be available in all modules, such as users, profiles, preferences, languages, streams, and license. For an explanation of these items, please refer to the Helmut FX training video. The metadata and streams section will show entries that are valid for the I/O module. These will differ from what you see inside Helmut FX. The dashboard will show you all jobs that are taking place or took place in the recent past. When logged in as a user, you will see just the jobs that belong to the group or groups you are a member of. When logged in as an administrator, you will be able to see all the active and recent jobs throughout the whole system. In the Helmut 4 panel extension inside Premiere, After Effects or Audition, only the jobs linked to the current project are shown. This will be explained in a separate video, showing the panel extension and its functions. Searching through jobs works the same way as we have seen in the Helmut FX module. You can search for a free text portion inside the jobs, and you can create filters for your searches. By pressing the plus sign, positioned underneath the search bar, you can choose different fields you want to search through. The options include name, creator, render node, status, amongst others. As you click on a column entry, Helmut will create a filter with that specific value, and places this in a bubble, right underneath the search bar. You can save the filters, as shown in Helmut FX. The source column reveals where the job was generated. This could be from within the Adobe application, by using an API call, or from Helmut Cosmo or Housekeeper. The column type reveals the specific trigger used for the job. By hovering over the symbol, Helmut will show the trigger that executed the job. In the name column, you can either see the project name, the asset name or a user-defined message, which can be set up in the workflows. The progress icon gives you information about the current progress of your jobs. Jobs can have different status, such as preparing, queued, running, successful, or failed. Failed jobs will show up in a red color. Preparing means that the job is going to be processed but is still being prepared. Queued means the job has been triggered, but is waiting to be processed. This can be the case when there are multiple files in the queue to be rendered, but there is no render node available yet to process the request. The next column, which does not have a header, can show a message from the configured workflow, or it shows system messages, for example when workflows failed. Clicking on a job inside the table, in the empty space, will reveal an overlay, showing more details about the selected job. These details may include the job ID, the profile, priority and render node used. The action button will allow jobs to be deleted from the dashboard. Should a job be in queued mode, users with the appropriate permissions can set one or more jobs to top priority. This will override any priority defined by the profile and will put the job on top of the queue. When selecting postpone, the selected queued job will be moved to the last position in the queue. Jobs that have failed can be restarted by using the action button and selecting restart from the drop-down menu. Should any of these options show up in red, it means that the selected job or jobs are not eligible for that operation. On the left-hand side, just above the table, a page selector will be visible, should the number of jobs exceed the amount that should be displayed. On the right-hand side you will see the total amount of jobs shown, versus the number of jobs available. Clicking on the first number will allow you to choose the number of jobs that should be shown per page. The Users section behaves the same as described in the Helmut FX training video. If you need information about this section, please refer to the Helmut FX video. In order to execute any import or export job, we need to define profiles. A profile needs to be assigned to one or multiple groups, so they are visible and selectable by the user. For your convenience, this section also allows you to add groups. You can learn how to add groups in the Helmut FX training video. By clicking the button Add Profile you can create a new profile. A new window will be opened, which allows you to provide a name for this specific profile. There are different types of profiles, which are being used for different tasks. The auto import type is used to import assets through the Helmut panel extension for Adobe. It can be used to trigger a workflow as soon as assets are being added to the Adobe project. Import is used to import assets but can only be used with an API trigger. Export will provide export options to be available through the Helmut panel extension for Adobe. Watch folders are folders on a specific storage location that can be set up to be scanned by the system in regular intervals. Assets that are placed in the watch folder can then be imported into the project automatically. The panel import type allows you to import assets directly into Cosmo using the Helmut panel extension. A pre-stream can be selected and is used to, for example, gather data or do specific validations on assets before the actual stream is going to be executed. It can also be used to decide if the stream actually needs to be executed. As an example, we can check inside the pre-stream if an asset that needs to be imported is on the correct storage location, has the right format and does not need any further handling. If so, a stream which will move and transcode an asset does not need to run anymore. In the stream section, Helmut will show the appropriate workflows that are linked to the specific profile types. We can decide which metadata sets will apply to this profile. In the priority field, we define which priority this profile will have, from 10 being the lowest, and 1 being the highest. Under groups we can determine the groups that will have access to this profile, something you can also set in the overlay window on the Profiles page. Some profiles will be used inside the Helmut ecosystem only. These profiles can be hidden from the user by setting this switch. Lastly, both the pre-stream workflow and the stream workflow can be assigned to specific render nodes. When choosing a render node, you can use the exact name of that node, use a partial name with wildcards, or use Helmut variables, such as user.name. You can also specify multiple render nodes by filling in the names separated by a comma. A watch folder is a specific location on the storage that can be set up to import assets. Users can upload assets into these folders. These assets will then be imported according to a defined and specified profile. In the watch folder overview, you will see a list of all watch folders, the individual paths, the connected profiles and groups, a switch which determines if the folder should be scanned recursively, how many growth checks should take place, and if the watch folder is enabled. A watch folder can either be managed directly from Helmut 4, or by using a cron job. The Action button will reveal additional functions for this entry, such as edit and delete. You can add a watch folder by pressing the button Add Watch Folder on the top right of the watch folder screen. You will now be prompted for a name of the watch folder and the path to that watch folder location. Please be advised, the Helmut 4 server needs to be able to find this location. Unless you have path mapping set up in the preferences, it is necessary to enter the path in a Unix format in this field. You can choose a group for this watch folder. This will make the imported assets part of the group defined. This setting is optional. The profile dropdown will allow you to choose which profile is going to be applied to this watch folder. If the recursive switch is set to on, Helmut will also watch the contents of any subfolders within the watch folder location and process assets accordingly. Each file that is found in the watch folder will trigger a job. The enabled switch will arm the watch folder and makes it active. When activating the Use Cron switch, the enabled switch disappears. Helmut will now process the files in the watch folder based on the cron job setting. This allows for processing of files based on a schedule. For instance, you can set up a cron job to only import files at a specific time or use specific intervals. The growth check tries determines how many times Helmut is going to check if a file is still growing inside the watch folder. If setting this to 2, Helmut will check if the file is stable. If yes, it will check it once again after the time specified in the scan interval seconds field. Should the file still have the same size, the import job will start. If the file has grown in between the checks, the process starts again. The section metadata behaves in the same way as within the Helmut FX module. However, the metadata defined in I/O can be assigned to specific metadata sets that are only applicable for I/O. Please have a look at the Helmut FX training video for a better understanding of metadata, the different options, and switches. The preferences, languages, streams and license sections behave the same as described in the Helmut FX training video. If you need information about any of these sections, please refer to the Helmut FX video.